Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello students, welcome to Swayam Prabha, channel 15. Course title is Human Resource Management. The lecture title is Emerging Issues and Challenges of HRM. This is module 16, lecture 1. I am Dr. Shoma Singupta, Associate Professor Commerce, Kamla Nehru College, University of Delhi. In this module, we will cover the following topics: employee empowerment, downsizing, work-life balance, use of technology in HRM functions, EHRM, green HRM, outsourcing of HRM, ethics in HRM, surveillance versus privacy. In this lecture, we will cover the first four topics, that is employee empowerment, downsizing, work-life balance, use of technology in HRM functions. Employee empowerment. Now, in earlier times, the relationship between the employer and the employee was that of oppressor and oppressed. The employees were less knowledgeable, less educated, they were not unionized, and they were not empowered, they were not aware of their rights. Although lots and lots of duties were entrusted on them, but no rights were given to them. So they were not empowered at all. Now, the employer used to enjoy that situation of oppressing the employee. But in the long run, what has been found, that if the employees, they are become educated, knowledgeable, they know their rights, they can fight for their rights, that will be beneficial for the organization as a whole in the long run, because there will be better industrial relations outside. Politicization of the organization will not be there, and the workers will work for the benefit of the organization. So they have realized that empowering the employees is very important. So employee empowerment has come up as a researchable topic, as well as an improvement tool in HR functions as well. So empowerment is the process of enabling or authorizing an individual to think, behave, take action, and control work and decision making in autonomous ways. Empowerment is the process coming to feel and behave as if one is in power, and to feel as if they owned the firm. This is given by Richard Cathelson. So what it suggests? It suggests that the employees will behave as if this is their own organization, they own the firm. Employee empowerment refers to the management strategies for sharing decision-making power. This is given by Bowen and Lawler. Elements of employee empowerment: sense of personal control over one's immediate work situation. So that is one. Second is self-sufficiency and competence. That is, they are capable of successfully performing a task. So that kind of confidence should be there in the employee. Meaningfulness. The worker should feel that the task is valuable. Whatever task they are doing, that is valuable, that is adding benefit to the organization. Impact. Feeling that one has an influence on organizational decisions. So they should feel that they are making an impact by influencing the organizational decisions. So if these four elements are there, we can say that employee empowerment is there in the organization. Importance of employee empowerment. Investment in employees. So employee empowerment is basically an investment in employees, because it improves productivity in the long run, reduces the cost in the long run. Employees experience a feeling of self-esteem, efficacy, and self-confidence. So they will be happy in the working in the organization. They will feel empowered working in the organization. Making employees more self-reliant. they know how to work, and they will not have to consult for every small decisions. Allows independent decision making by the employees, helps a firm to assign different projects to hone the competence of employees, more freedom to employees, they can take judicious decisions, assigning proper authority improves the organizational effectiveness. Other importance of employee empowerment are independent decision making, improves self confidence among the employees, boosts of the morale of employees, so they will have a positive attitude towards the organization and feel happy about working in that organization. Overall efficiency of an organization multiplies, and increased emphasis on employee empowerment will be there due to knowledge of the workers, speed, flexibility, innovation and creativity required, globalization, cutthroat competition, human resource development. So importance has increased because of these reasons, that workers are becoming knowledgeable, and there is globalization and competition, and organizations are investing a lot on human resource development. Barriers to employee empowerment. First is incongruent organizational culture may be there. So if a culture is not of the organization is not very professional, they would not like if the old setting is still there, like in many of the old Indian family business houses, they are still they have this fossilized thought that employees should not be empowered. In such a situation, employee empowerment is difficult. But other family organization, big organization, they have become corporate giants because they have professional management and they realized all these responsibilities, and one of them is employee empowerment. Love of for authority on the part of the employer or manager, that will also act as a barrier in employee empowerment. Now fear of retribution by superiors among the employees, so they by themselves would not like to take power or become a decision maker or become empowered. So on the part of employee also there may be some barriers, there may be some barriers on the part of employer. Then sometimes the employer again or the boss doesn't want to empower the employees because of the fear of retribution by the subordinates, so that they will make fun out of the employer or the manager. So that kind of fear also is a barrier in employee empowerment. And finally, dependency of subordinates, so that also acts as a barrier. For every practical purposes they are dependent on others, and because of that they are not empowered. So how you can empower the employees? By seeking opinions from them, facilitating the employees to try the new ideas or whatever ideas they have, encouraging for sharing of resources and information, improving the communication skills of the employees, getting them involved in work assignments, solving organizational problems, creating an environment of cooperation, and giving freedom. So, if you create an organizational climate which is conducive for empowering employees, that will ensure that employees become empowered. Next topic which we are going to discuss is downsizing. Now, as the name suggests, it is reducing the size of the organization through planned elimination of positions and jobs. Then it is called downsizing. Now, downsizing is a kind of a restructuring process. Here, organization disposes of all its non-core activities. Now, why this happen? How downsizing happens? First is elimination of certain jobs to improve work efficiency. You want to make the organization efficient, and so you are eliminating all non-core activities or certain jobs which are not efficient enough. And but in that process it involves separations also. That means it might be possible that many of the workers they lose out their jobs. So that is about downsizing. So reasons for downsizing specifically are that there is recessionary conditions going on, and the organization without downsizing will not be capable to survive. So because of that, all the non-efficient activities are cut out from the organization. And if there is overstaffing, then naturally many of the staff who are working in on those non-core activities, they will also lose the job. So overstaffing situation again requires downsizing. So as it happened with many of the PSUs, which have become overstaffed, and because of that, it led to further inefficiencies. So they started giving voluntary retirement schemes to the employees so as to downsize. Then change in man machine ratio is another reason, and this happens due to technological advances. So when technology improves, then lesser number of employees may be required on a new technology machine. So because of that, again, it calls for downsizing. And in many organizations nowadays, non-core activities are outsourced. So when you are outsourcing, then again there will be many divisions which you were operating in house, that has to be closed down. So it again leads to downsizing. The limitations are, it creates a feeling of insecurity among the employees. You know that nowadays, because of COVID, many of the top organizations, especially those in travel and tourism, aviation, they are downsizing, and there is a feeling of insecurity among the employees that they may lose their job anytime. So it leads to low morale among them and high level of stress. It erodes the skill base also. Sometimes in the process of downsizing, what you are doing, that competent employees may leave the organization. Even if one is, you are specifically making them quit the job, and sometimes out of fear also they leave the job, but you may be losing out on your competent staff. It is difficult to implement performance improvement practices if the situation is of downsizing. Role of human resource department or HR department in downsizing should be the last resort, because it is a very negative phenomena whereby you are cutting out not only your non-core areas, but also your staff. Alternatives such as work sharing, downgrading, deployment should be tried first, and if none of them works, then only you should resort to downsizing. Proper communication should be there with to the employees, so that it will minimize the negative effects. Convince the trade unions also to sell the idea of downsizing. So you have to give the benefits also to the employees, and the trade union should be convinced, otherwise they will protest against it. Deal with uncertainty of downsizing. Assess the laid off employees to find out alternatives occupations. Reduce their uncertainties about pay and other benefits. Tell them how much you are going to pay extra, so that they will be capable to adjust to the new situation. Help in right sizing the organization, that is realigning an organization's human resources for a closer fit with overall strategy, goals, and financial resources. So HR should, rather than thinking of downsizing, they should think about right sizing the organization. One of the tool of downsizing is voluntary retirement scheme, VRS. VRS is based on mutual agreement between the employer and employees, under which an employee agrees to voluntarily separate from the organization on payment of agreed compensation by the employer. So you are giving this opportunity to the employee to leave the organization through a golden handshake. VRS is also known as golden handshake. You are paying a kind of a compensation to him since he is leaving it early. Generally, this is given to a category of employees who have completed a particular number of years of service in the organization, and you are compensating them well, and sometimes you give training also so that they can settle down in alternative occupation. So VRS, as we said, that it is also known as early retirement buyout and golden handshake. VRS was introduced as an alternative legal solution to solve this problem of layoff and retrenchment. Since layoff and retrenchment attracts many legal provisions, so organizations are nowadays going for VRS. It allowed employers, including those in the government undertakings, to offer voluntary retirement schemes to offload the surplus manpower, and no pressure is put on any employee to exit. So it is voluntary, in the sense those who do not want to exit, they may remain in the organization, and those who want to take the compensation and retire from the organization, they are given that kind of golden handshake. Reasons for VRS are recession in the business, constant decline in the productivity, to reduce the labor cost, to cut the total cost of production, intense competition leading to unviability, joint ventures with foreign collaborations, takeover and mergers, obsolescence of product or technology, need for getting rid of the surplus workforce without resorting to termination of jobs. So in all these adverse situations, you cannot continue with so much of staff, or you are overstaffed, so hence you are going for VRS. Steps for successful implementation of VRS. Identifying the needs for VRS. Check whether VRS is really necessary in the organization. Surplus workforce which cannot be utilized in future have to be get rid of. So because of that, when it becomes inevitable, then you can go for VRS. Type of employees to be covered should also be mentioned. Cost benefit analysis has to be done. That is, implications of VRS scheme should be carefully considered. Organizations may lose talented people and may be left with the poor quality staff. So that may be a problem, because some talented people will take VRS and they will get job in others also. Those who have no scope outside, they will remain the organization. So you will be left with all poor quality staff. So that is a pitfall of VRS type of scheme. Designing the scheme is very important. Employees to be covered, you have to find out covering those employees who are least required in future. So such scheme should be given to them. Also in designing the scheme, you have to find out the compensation package to be offered, like 3 months salary for each completed year or service, subject to a maximum of monthly salary multiplied by the number of months left for retirement is the norm. Convincing trade unions, like need and rationale of the scheme, schemes for the rehabilitation of the retiring employees, so that if it is good enough, then only the trade union will be convinced. Rehabilitation, designing training programs to impart new skills among the retiring employees to make them re-employable. Arrange out placement services for the retiring employees. So these are the steps for the successful implementation of VRS. Next heading is work-life balance. Now nowadays we say that if the employees are happy with their personal life, they will be happier in the organization as well. But this is very difficult to achieve. So maintaining a balance between your personal life and the professional life, because the professional lives have become very demanding, the organizational lives have becoming very demanding, and workers are spending more time in the organization than at any other place, especially their house. So because of they have family problems, and which furthers their stress level. So one of the objective of good HR practices is also to help employees maintain a work-life balance. So work-life balance refers to the level of prioritization between personal and professional activities in an individual's life, and the level to which activities related to their job are present in the home. So increased amount of technology nowadays, again because of COVID, people are working from home. So now technology has made it possible that you can spend time with the family and still you can work for the organization at the same point of time. So increased amount of technology removed the importance of physical location in defining the work-life balance, with work from home becoming a reality. Stress caused by economic and health problems, that also has an impact on your work life. It is a common feature of a poor work-life balance. Now the responsibility lies on employers for ensuring employees have a good work-life balance. Their health of their employees is very important. Also, they help stressed out employees. So they have to work on health of employees, their personal problems, their stressed out life. So this is the responsibility of employers, and especially the HR department of the organization. So, what should be the strategies for maintaining work life balance? So, self management is the first thing. Like the employee himself should get organized, list the priorities, develop interests, learn to say no. If you don't have time, you have to say no. Pursue your calling, whatever you like, you pursue that. So in that way, you can self manage. So this is employee can do. Other things which the employee can do is time management. So demarcate time for different activities and manage it properly. Stress management exercises he can do, so that the stress should not affect his work life. Change management, whatever changes are happening, this the employer can also do, and the employee can himself do. That whatever change, you should be convinced first that the change is beneficial for me, and bit by bit you change yourself or change the work processes. Technology management, this can be done by the organization as well as the employees. Employees should learn the new technology, employers should make their employees learn the new technology, so that they get themselves adjusted to the new technology. Leisure management is also important. Nowadays employers, they are encouraging the employees to go on holidays, go for holidays. In government organization, LTC schemes, HTC schemes are there. Likewise, in all the private organizations, they are also sponsoring trips for the employees and their families, so that they can spend a family time or valued family time, and they can come back happy and work for the organization. So these are the strategies which can be undertaken not only by the employees as well as by the employers for maintaining work life balance. Now, other workplace practices which should be undertaken by employers are offer flexible and remote working. So that is through the modern information technology, that is quite possible that work from home has become reality, work from vacation has become reality. Encourage members to focus on productivity rather than on hours. Encourage breaks in between. So give them breaks in between the work, not only the lunch break. Reconsider time offs from the duty. Regularly review workloads, find out whether the workload is very stressful or not. Lead by example. So employers should lead by example. If they can show that they are maintaining work life balance, then the employees will be encouraged to follow them. Give employees time to volunteer. Offer health cash plans and insurance to them. Again, that will benefit them and reduce their stress. Offer them perks. Ask your employees for views with regard to different practices. Acknowledge every employee is different. So what will work for one employee might not work for another employee. So you have to find out what will work for individual employees. Use of technology in HRM functions. This is the next heading. So in different HRM functions nowadays, you can use technology. Like in human resource planning, in constructing databases about the employees, it can be stored. Determining vacant positions, whether individual is the best fit or not. All this through computerized technologies or programs, you can do so. Administration, keeping the basic data identified with the workforce, like their name, addresses, email, contact number, capability, compensation, benefits, encountered, date of passage in the organization, employment status, whether contract, full-time. Beside that, their attendance records for the purpose of calculation of their salaries, everything can be done through a computerized technology. Recruitment, web connects the companies and job seekers. So nowadays recruitment is done massively through online organizations like monster.com. They are doing it for you. Beside that, your in-house recruitment cell can also work online. training and development is another area where technology can be used. E-learning is a progressive approach to enable the workforce to keep pace with a quickly evolving market. By connecting the evaluation process to the HR databases, the e-learning framework can be used effectively. For compensation and benefits calculation also, all those technologies can be used. The e-pay bundles offer straightforward, simple, precise and accessible data on the compensation structure of the employees. Now, what are the benefits of using of technology in HRM functions? You get a competitive advantage. A competitive advantage will be there. A key technique in innovation can be introduced. Accessibility. Data is accessible to everyone through web or intranet. Rapid and mistake-free exchanges will happen. Technological innovation have expanded the pace of administration in organizations. Mechanical frameworks eliminate human errors, so that is again beneficial for the organization. Interactive atmosphere will be there. Technology enhances interaction among the representatives through electronic gateways. Challenges associated with HR technology. It is expensive. Technology pulls cost, so you have to do a cost benefit analysis to find out which technology will be suitable for your organization or beneficial for the organization. But once it is executed, it decreases the operational expenses, so that is one advantage of technology. So though it is expensive, but in the long run it may be beneficial. Acknowledgement. Insecurity among employees may be there, that they may lose the job, so that is one problem. Acknowledgement from the workforce is required, hence, for using it up to the fullest. Backups and security should be there. Nowadays, you know, vulnerability because of technology has increased in the cases of hacking or virus attack is very common. So maintenance cost is high if we need to prevent hacking and virus attacks. Increasing isolation, that is another problem. Due to virtual networks, the individual collaboration among the representatives has reduced. The employees, they might not be meeting with each other, so that feeling, group feeling, teamwork might not be there. Disengages from each other now. Every employee is disengaging themselves, so that is creating isolations, and which is not good for healthy HR practices in the organization. So to summarize this lecture, we can say empowerment is the process of enabling or authorizing an individual to think, behave, take action and control work and decision making in autonomous way. It is an investment in the employees which improves productivity, and the employees experience a feeling of self-esteem, self-efficacy and self-confidence. So empowerment is very important in the organization. Now, reducing the size of the organization through planned elimination of positions and jobs is called downsizing. Now, reasons for downsizing are recession, overstaffing, change in man-machine ratio due to technological advances or outsourcing. VRS, voluntary retirement scheme, is an agreement where an employee agrees to voluntarily separate from the organization on the payment of agreed compensation by the employer. Work-life balance is very important nowadays. It refers to the level of prioritization between personal and professional activities in an individual's life. And finally, technology is increasingly becoming important in HR, performing all the HR functions. Thank you, students. So this was Emerging Issues and Challenges of HRM, Module 16, Lecture 1.